Love smarter, not harder. Today's question. Hi, just a quick background. I'm a 42-year-old single mother. I've been divorced for 10 years and my children are adults but still live with me. I have my own house, 2 cars, a stable career. I feel that I'm a catch. However, everyone I met this past year has just been, well, a letdown. I've met a love bomber, a non-committal friends with benefits type, a man who needed a mommy, and most recently, a man that lied to me about some major deal breakers. He was still married and a smoker. And he didn't reach my standards, but I settled hoping for the best. My question is, why am I attracting all of these types? I'm generally happy. I have some self-esteem issues, but who doesn't? I live a nice, peaceful existence, and then every few months, a man comes around and shakes up my foundation. I want a husband or eventual long-term living companion, and it seems like I keep attracting the exact opposite of what I'm looking for. The worst part is that when I speak up for myself, I feel like I'm asking too much, and I'm really not. I have no idea where I keep going wrong. I've done self-help books, counseling, I belong to many boards, and I'm always working on bettering myself. Yet this is where I always end up, empty and without a partner. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate any input you have. So I've got 3 main thoughts to share, and I hope they're helpful. First, I want to refer you to a post I did a while ago, but it's one that's in my stories, in my highlights rather, because people really resonated with it, and it goes like this. If I exist, he exists. And it's a really important mental shift that I came to. I remember when I was dating, and I felt very much like you. I'm like, hey, I work on myself. I read the self-help books. I try to be the best version of me. And yes, I have my flaws, but I don't think I have any more flaws than my friend over there who met the love of her life, and she's flawed too. I mean, it was just this frustration that I felt that I had a lot to offer a relationship, and yet I wasn't finding, and like you're saying, I wasn't attracting people that were long-term potential. And then I remember coming to the point where I said to myself, well, I'm out there on the dating scene, and I'm not asking for perfection. I'm just asking for someone who's like-minded, who has similar values, who wants the same things out of life. I'm not asking for too much, and I'm not asking for more than I'm willing to give a relationship. And so if I'm out here, then it's very reasonable to believe that he's out there as well, my perfect match. And that helped me. And then I was talking about this, going back and forth with a follower one time, and she was expressing the same concern. And she said that she was following the fairy godfather, and he'd helped her. And she was expressing something like that. And I was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, I felt that too. And she goes, if I exist, he exists. And I was like, oh my gosh, can I use that as a quote? Because I resonated with it so much. So it's a mental shift that's important. What it refers back to the confirmation bias, which is a social psych term, where whatever we believe is out there, we are going to see, notice, and remember what confirms our bias. So if I'm assuming that all guys out there are going to be disappointments, that they're not going to be, that they're going to have all kinds of deal breakers and so forth, if I'm assuming that that's what I always end up with, and I keep telling myself that, then I'm putting on glasses, so to speak, and I'm actually going to filter out the people who are solid potential and great guys that would be a good fit for me, and I'm going to actually confirm my bias. I'm going to see exactly what I'm expecting to see. So we have to make a mental shift so that our bias can be like, hey, I know I'm not perfect, but I'm not asking for perfection. I'm just looking for someone who's very similar to me. And if I'm out here looking, he's out here as well. That shift alone can be very powerful. And like I said, this follower who I was going back and forth with, she made that shift, and it wasn't that long after that she met a guy who she's been with now for over a year, and they are a perfect pair. Not perfect, but perfect for each other. So I encourage you to really tweak that. The second piece, I love that you're recognizing that when you are asking, when you're in a relationship and you're asking for just explaining, hey, this is how I like to do relationships. This is what I'm hoping for in return. And when you've done that in the past and you've received this feeling of that you're asking too much, I love that you are noticing that and then getting out, because too oftentimes women can stay with something and go, well, I guess I shouldn't expect too much. And the exact opposite is true. Research shows, and I shared this study in a post recently, research shows that when we have high expectations in dating, high standards, If we're in a relationship, we don't rattle this off the first date, like, and I expect this and this. I mean, that anyone's going to be to resist that. That's going to turn anyone off. But once we're in the relationship and we're bringing the best of ourselves, it's reasonable and rational and smart to expect the best in return. And so research shows that when we have high standards in dating, that translates to high standards in marriage, which leads to high quality, marriages that have a lot of satisfaction and are extraordinary, because we're not out here to have some ho-hum mediocre relationship. We want something extraordinary. So that's another point that I really think is important. One other thing related to that, you say that you have this peaceful existence and then this man comes around and shakes up your foundation. I would encourage you that initially in the first couple months of dating, maintain protect your peace and protect your life. This person, you can get to know them, but I don't like that they're feeling that they disrupt your foundation. You protect that. Don't let someone in so quickly and so dramatically when you're just getting to know them that they can throw you off course. It's always disappointing when a relationship ends, of course, even when it's only been a couple months. But don't let yourself be derailed such that your foundation is shaky. Protect that. Protect your single independence and identity, because that's who you are. And until someone has shown themselves to be very quality, we don't want to let them in that close that then they're disrupting our foundation. Final point, and you didn't ask about this, but I have to speak to it because my dissertation was on individuation from family of origin in young adults. So the fact that your kids are living at home, and I'm not talking about COVID because I know a lot of young adults are home for COVID, but the fact that your kids live at home, that may be a dynamic that is at work that you're not even aware of. Oftentimes when adults have adult children living at home, it's because everyone is having a hard time launching. And I have a podcast that speaks to this with Dr. Brad Sachs. He wrote a book called Emptying the Nest. It's episode 37. It's called Emptying the Nest, Young Adults Living at Home. We talk about the dynamics that sometimes are very subtle and hard for us to see when we're in it. But it may be that you're still having a lot of mothering going on, or even that there is the emotional mothering bond that is very front and center without you realizing it, because the adult children are in the home. And that may be taking energy that could be better put toward you finding your life partner. And really, Dr. Sachs talks about how it's helpful for young people to know that mom and dad believe that they can manage adult life by themselves. So when we give them a little shove to go and be independent, and again, I'm not talking about during COVID, but in general, then we're communicating to them like, hey kid, you got this. You're in your 20s now and you're grown, and I know that you have internalized all the values that we've taught you about how to work hard, set goals, and reach them. And when you give them that launch, it actually gives them a self-esteem boost, because if they're able to stay at home, they are internalizing a message that maybe their parents don't really believe that they have what it takes to be successful, independent adults. So that's something else to consider. And again, I want to be gentle when I say that, because I don't want to be critical, but again, it's my dissertation and I studied it extensively. So it's something that I have a lot of familiarity with, and wanted to speak to that, which also might be going on. And I hope that is helpful.